So when did your love affair with the organ start?
Oh, now, very interesting. When did it start? My mother was the church organist in the little village of Gulville near Penzance. And I literally was born there, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
About.
Did you have lessons?
Yes, I had lessons with Donald Behenna at St Mary's, Penzance, who'd just come from up north. He was there for training there, and a brilliant organist, very brilliant. And I was very fortunate to have him as a teacher.
And that was church organ?
That was church organ at St Mary's at Penzance. And then soon after that, I suppose it would be soon, the Hammond organ came on, and I was introduced to the Hammond by going into a shop in some part of England, I forgot. They had one on show, and you could try these organs, you see. So I went in and I thought, well, isn't this marvellous? Not awfully big in size, lovely, but I couldn't afford that kind of money. But to cut a long story short, when I arrived back in Plymouth, after a short while, a local doctor came to see me, and he said that I've been listening to you playing and on the radio and whatever. He said, I've just got one of these new Hammond organs. He said, I'd love you to come. He said, because I'm an amateur, but, So I said, well, I would love that. Thank you very much. He said, well, come and have dinner one evening, my wife and I, and have you here. So I went up there with the doctor, and I enjoyed it, both of us. And as I was leaving, he said, oh, by the way, my daughter's at Sherburn School at the moment. She was coming home, and she loves the organ. And he said, I'd love you to come up, actually, if you would, have a meal with us, and then you could play, and my daughter could hear how the organ should sound. Well, I said, we'll see about that anyway. So that was that, and not long after, I fell in love with the daughter.
Oh, how wonderful.
And the father gave me the organ, and I could tour England with the daughter, which we did. And then the BBC got to hear about it, la-di-da-di-da, ITV and all these people, various places. And there we are.
Who played the organ at your wedding? Or did you rush up and do it yourself?
No. The organist at the church here.
But not the Hammond?
Not the Hammond, no.
So how did you get introduced to the organ at the ABC?
Well, I was the second organist to play there, because I was in London playing of the various things, and the Plymouth organ came up, and I was there the second week that they opened, and I was appointed as the organist there, and so I was there for years or whatever it was until the war started, and I went to India for 3 years.
You were a young man then, weren't you?
Well, it was 3 years, yes.
So how old were you when you took the job at the ABC?
Oh, what would I be? Well, I was billed, actually, when I went around England as the boy organist. They called it Wonder, but I would not like to say that was correct, actually. But anyway...
Well, it's very famous as champion.
It was a way of getting people in to see it.
Yeah. So you were very young to be appointed to such a...
Well, I was very fortunate. And
you were very good, not very fortunate.
And then I came to Plymouth. Then, how can I put it to tell you? I came to Plymouth just before the war, and was at the Royal there. And then the cinema closed and everything happened. And then I joined the army and went to India and played the organ in Madras Cathedral. And the most extraordinary thing happened. We stopped in the ship there on the South Africa, and we got invitations just there for 3 days before going into India. And somebody in the local symphony orchestra came up to me and said, look, it's not often we see an Englishman with organs out in where we are. He said, I'd like to put you on the radio, you see, here. So I said, well, this is a surprise. So he said, no. He said, we've got an electronic organ here. So I played. They took an orchestra off the scheme, off the
air, yeah.
To make way for this young lad playing the Hammond organ. Cut a long story short, my mother, who lived in Penzance in Cornwall, was walking up Penzance Street one day. A lady called her and said, "Mrs. Savage." She said, "Yes." Well, she said, "You have a son who plays the organ?" "Yes," she said, "he's my student." "Well," she said, "I've just come from South Africa, and your son from Penzance, was broadcasting from there." Would you believe it?
Well, you did a lot of broadcasts, didn't you?
Not there, not in, no, I went in India.
Yeah.
And then, in India I did quite a bit, playing piano organ.
The ABC organ you did a lot of broadcasts with, didn't you? The
The
Compton at the
Royal
ABC,
organ,
yeah.
yes. Every month, every week, so there was something for Plymouth. And going around the country privately with various concerns. The opening of the BBC at Bristol, I was with Acker Bilk.
Oh, yeah?
He was there, and one or two other people. We opened the BBC in Bristol then.
Of all the organs you played on, you must have had a very soft spot for the Compton at the theatre, didn't you? At the ABC.
Yes, the Plymouth Compton has been the first love, really. I was a young lad when I first played it, and, it was one of these things. But there's something good in them all. The Wurlitzers, I played Wurlitzers, all the various makes, all the foreign makes, but the Compton was slightly different from most of them.
Well, it had that mellow tone, didn't it?
Yes, indeed. And you had the being able to visualise someone sitting in a church, in a cathedral playing, and a minute later you could be playing a popular tune of the moment, and everything was tikai sab, as they say in India.
Did you choose your repertoire for all the programmes? What you played, was it your choice? Of
With the BBC ones, which I did for years and years and years and years, but requests. Mm-hmm. Always the hymn tunes, of course, always most important. Years and years and years. For that were requests. Now,
Smiling Through was your theme.
Smiling Through, and when As Prescribed was taken off the air for no reason at all, the man who took them off got the choppers himself. I came back. 50,000 people signed a petition.
Did they really?
Which Dudley Teague,
Yes.
an organist, started this. He said, we can't have BBC taking people off like that, where they're highly regarded, the so-called. Anyway, he got the petition going. He got 50,000.
Wow.
And Frank Gillard of the BBC, who was no part of it, he got at me back again. So there we are.
So you were only off the air for a short time?
Yes,
Then they had you back on.
off the air, then I was back again. And then not only was I doing As Prescribed, I'd be doing all the other programmes as well. I was telling about Benny Hill and all the other people, and doing all kinds of things.
Now, you said Benny Hill was very shy.
Benny Hill was quiet. This was his first encounter with the BBC. So he had his piece of music, and I accompanied him on the Hammond. Same with various other well-known, who became famous people. All the shy when they start, and then they become famous. And
What was your last performance on the ABC Compton? Can you remember?
that is, I didn't know it was to be the last. Put it like
really?
that. I didn't know as to if it was the last. I would not like to. I wish I could remember that. No, I was doing other programmes on the BBC. Well, we see most important, of course, yes, but I can't recall saying this is the end.
Yeah.
Because I was going around for ITV at Bristol, Mr. and Mrs., all the programmes that I did, all these programmes as well, in Scotland and all over Germany and Holland. I've been there lots of times.
Wow.
The Germans love the English Compton organ.
Now tell me, this organ, are you pleased with what's happening to it? Are you pleased that it's being restored? Yeah.
Oh, of course, I have great affection. I said, because every Sunday morning, my darling wife, alas, who is no longer with us, would be by me, turning the pages, standing, bless her. Every Sunday morning, she would be there.
Did she play as well? Did she play?
She could play,
Yeah.
but she didn't broadcast.
Right.
But she would stand and turn the music.
Right.
And I was very fortunate in that she knew what I was playing. A lot of people sometimes doubted what it was. But the organ was there, and she knew with the dots and bits when to take it away, whatever. And that was
excellent.
Yes.
You wrote some music as well?
A few.
A few. I've heard quite a lot. How much did you write over the years?
Oh, I wouldn't like to say. Well, 40 or 50 items.
Did you really? Did you include those in your broadcast?
No, unless they were asked for.
Right.
No. Well, because the programmes I did from Plymouth was one of the requests. And unless someone had heard my work, how do they know?
When they used to write to you with requests, did you get you got a lot of fan mail as well?
Oh, yes. You see, I had a Sunday morning on national thing, and a good time, and how can I explain it? I was on at 8:30 to 9:30 on a Sunday morning. You were either in bed or in the bath, and I don't think there's anything on the other channel.
Nothing.
What's on the faced with Dudley Savage.
So where did the fan mail come to? Did it go to the BBC or did it come direct to you?
The BBC Plymouth, yes. They used to come to the BBC Plymouth, and they would forward to me in Cornwall. My wife and I had a cottage in Cornwall, West Cornwall, and sent to me there, and then I'd work on next week's programme.
Did you? How did you manage? You couldn't possibly reply to all the fan mail, could you? Or did you try?
I tried, if possible. But I had the access to Broadcasting House in Plymouth, and the secretary there,
they would
cope with it if occasionally.
Got out of hand.
Yeah.
And was there a Dudley Savage fan club?
Wisely, no.
I think there should have been with all the fan mail. Happy days, huh?
Yes, in lots of ways. When my dear wife was by me, and it was a team.
You travelled everywhere together.
And everywhere together. I did no driving. I got in India to get my commission, whatever.
Yes.
I had to drive the thing as the point of no interest to you. But the fellow English chap who was doing the marking, said, "Look, Savage," he said, "do you drive? Can you drive?" I said, "No, I can steer." He said, "I'll tell you what, if you steer this round a circle, I'll pass you." Dudley could steer around there, got through. And the colonel who said, "Oh, Dudley, put the car away, will you?" But so I waited until he went away, and I called one of the seaboys and said, "Hit jaldi or sati." Don't tell him in his language.
Yes.
Take the car away. No one ever found out.
They never found out. And so your wife drove you everywhere.
Other than in the war.
Right. Yes. It's leaving Plymouth. How do you feel about that? Leaving Plymouth and going to Blackheath Halls in London.
Well, I think it's rather strange because my daughter-in-law, who married my son, I was talking to her, telling her about this organ the Plymouth organ is going to a place, Black. I said, Black? No, she said, Blackheath? She said, but that's my home. That was my home.
Isn't that strange?
Isn't that strange?
So it's fate, really.
It's absolutely.
And I think the other nice thing is that you were a very young lad when you started playing on it, and now because it's Trinity College of Music have taken it on, it's going to have a lot of young students who will be around about the same age as you were when you started, all going to be introduced to a theatre organ for the first time. And I think that's marvellous, really, that it's almost, in a strange way, done a full circle.
That's well put. And I'm sure that the lads or girls or whoever play them will get the pleasure that I got personally playing a Compton organ. And remember always, of course, that an instrument like the Royal Organ is an instrument of many voices. It's not, you can't just play hymns, you can play dance tunes, you can make jazz, you can make anything on it. And each sound is quite different from the other. I like, as a musician, I'm most interested in hymn writing. I try in my humble way of writing hymn tunes. I have written quite a few actually, but which you get the answer when you play it then on a Compton. All right.
Brilliant.